Hello guys. In this video we will see the graphical user interface and how to interact with it. There are three main areas in the main window. The left panel with two tabs. The component list. These are all the components you can use in the circuit. A file explorer to browse the file system. There are a few bookmarks with the most important folders. The circuit panel in the middle with three sections. The toolbar at the top. The circuit canvas in the middle. Here is where you create your circuits. And the message panel at the bottom. Here you will see information and error messages about the circuit and simulation. And the editor panel in the right side, also divided in three sections. The toolbar at the top. Next, the document area where you can open and edit all kind of text files. And also a message panel at the bottom. Here you will see information and error messages about files, compiler and debugger. You can resize any of these panels by clicking and dragging in the gray divisions between sections. It is possible to completely collapse a panel if you drag to the end. You may want to focus only in the circuit canvas, for example. Or use it only as a code editor. Okay, now let's see each one in detail. Starting with the component list. The component list is organized in categories, like meters, sources, switches, and so on. And some categories can have sections. Categories and sections can be collapsed or expanded using the indicator left of the name. You can hide individual components or whole categories from the list. To do so, right-click in any part of the list and open Manage Components dialog. Using the checkbox at the left side, you can hide or show any category or component. In addition, you can define a shortcut for each component. For example, let's use an R for the resistor. We will use this later to create components with the keyboard. We can search for components in the box at the top of the list. Just write what you want to find and press Enter. To return to the complete list, just clear the search box and press Enter. To add components to the circuit, just grab any component and drop it in the circuit canvas. Or you can use the shortcut defined before to create components directly with the keyboard. To do so, you need to use the Alt modifier plus the shortcut, for example, Alt-R, to create a resistor in the position of the cursor. Now let's see the file browser. When you click in the File Browser tab, you will see two sections. The Bookmarks section at the top with a few predefined entries, and the file system tree at the bottom. Clicking in any of the bookmarks will open that folder in the bottom section and the path will be shown in the box. It is also possible to write a path directly in the box. Then you can navigate the file system normally, expanding or collapsing folders, opening folders by double-click, or going up with the CD Up button. You can add your own bookmarks. To do so, just right-click on the folder and select Add Bookmark. To remove a bookmark, right-click on it and select Remove Bookmark. You can open documents from the file browser with a double-click. If the file has extension Sim1, it will be opened in the circuit canvas. Any other extension will be opened in the editor. To open Sim1 files in the editor, right-click on it and select Open in Editor. Now let's go with the circuit panel. This is the central part of the application, where you build and simulate your circuits. Starting with the toolbar. The first icon that looks like a gear opens the Settings dialog. In this dialog you can configure settings for the application, circuit canvas, and simulation. In the first tab from left to right you will see the settings for the application, language, font scale, and user folder. Note that these settings are only applied when you restart the application. The next tab is about the circuit canvas. You can show or hide the grid and scroll bars. Activating the animation will show wires in blue or red color depending on the logic state, and animate the pins depending on state and pin type, input, output, open drain, etc. Canvas refresh determines the refresh rate in frames per second, and auto backup determines the time interval to save a backup copy of the circuit. Note that there is always a help button. You can click on it to show some brief explanations of each property. Continuing with Simulation tab. Here you can set the simulation speed and some parameters for non-linear, reactive, and logic components. We will explain these parameters in detail in other tutorials. The next group of icons is to open and save circuit files. The first one from left to right show a list with the last circuit used. Clicking on any item in the list will open it in the circuit canvas. Remember that you can hover the mouse cursor over any of these icons and get information about what it does. The next group is about the simulation. These two buttons are to start, stop, and pause, resume the simulation. And the next group is just informative and shows the actual simulation speed, load, and state. And finally, that lonely icon at the right just shows some information about the application. The circuit canvas is where all the action happens. I will create a simple circuit to see how it works. You can use the mouse wheel to zoom in or out, and the middle button to pan. Or use the context menu to fit the circuit in the window. Creating wires is just a matter of clicking in some pin and then clicking in another pin to close the wire. If you press Shift key and join two pins, they will connect automatically. To move a wire, use the middle button to grab it and then move. To change the properties of a component, double-click on it and change values in the dialog. Or use the context menu. Now we have our circuit finished, so let's push the power button to start the simulation. The simulation is running and now we can interact with the circuit. Nice, seems like it works. It is time to have a look at the editor in the right side. Here you can create or open text files, modify, and compile and debug code. Let's start with the toolbar. The first icon that looks like a gear is to configure editor and compiler settings. But first we need to open a file. You can use the list of recent files or open a file from disk. There are two groups of settings, editor and compiler. In editor settings you can configure font size, tab type, and show or hide spaces and tabs. We will see in another tutorial the settings for the compiler. This icon here opens the Find, Replace dialog. Here you can find expressions and, if you want, replace them with some other text. There are several actions available, and some options like case-sensitive, whole words, or regular expressions. The last group of icons is used to compile and debug code for microcontrollers. We will see this in another tutorial. Okay guys, that's all for this video. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you want. Have a great day and see you in the next video.